been talking to our friends at Fausti, and as the XF4 has been so popular, it won the Gun of the Year last year, next to the XS Browning. It's really proven a popular sporting gun. The SX4 has been in the UK about a year now, or just under a year. We had the first in the country here last June, beginning of last June. And they gave us this, so Tony came down and said, right, I've got this new gun for you. I want you to test it. I want you to try and break it. I want you to shoot loads and loads of cartridges through it. And I want you to use it on the shooting school. And I want you to let me know what the customers think about it. Now, there's not many gun manufacturers. Browning do it. I know Yieldit's used to do it. There's not many gun manufacturers that actually will do that. So before they launch that gun into that country, they give people a gun and they test that gun. So they get all of the niggly little bits out of it that's gonna go wrong with that gun. Because when you launch a product, a bit like when you launch a car, sometimes when you launch a car, it's 5 years in the making. But they've ironed out all those problems. And that is what Fausti did with this gun. This gun being now over a year old, about sort of 15 months, 16 months old. This gun has shot in excess of 25,000 cartridges. We've shot roughly 300 or 400 cartridges a week through this gun. And with the best in the world, we've not really had any problem with it at all. It's also still tight. So if you shoot it, it's still tight. We've not even serviced it. We wanted to see what would go wrong with it. They re-changed a couple of things. The new ones on the shelf don't have a middle bead because customers didn't like a middle bead. They've changed the top lever slightly. If you look at the new ones, they're a little bit bigger. They've changed the pad. So this recoil pad, if you look at the recoil pads on the ones on the shelf now, they've changed the pad slightly. And that is just really their R&R of what they've done. But this gun has never, ever gone wrong. If you look at it, so if you take it apart, so generally when a gun's shot this amount, you have marks all on the action there. And you look at this, okay, you've got a few marks, you're gonna have a few marks, but it's not that bad at all. It's not rusty, it's a real pleasure to actually see what a gun that's shot over 25,000 shells actually looks like. The stock, I'm gonna say it's been used. It's been abused, it's been used. When you're teaching people, it's gonna have a few little marks on the stock, but it still looks, it's still new, it doesn't wobble. The adjustable cheek piece doesn't wobble, they all still looks new. The barrels, the chokes, if you take them out, and okay, it gets cleaned. Our school guns do get cleaned. If we didn't clean them on a regular basis, they would literally rust to anything. But if you look at that, it's still fairly new. It's got a bit of mark there, which you can clean off, but it still looks fairly new. Look at the threads in there. It's bedded in, but they haven't really done any damage to it just because it's shot. Same with the other one. The threads still look new. The thread in there still looks new. So the barrels, again, we all know some guns rust when you put sort of oily hands on them and things like that, generally because the steel is a high quality steel. This gun, you don't see any rust on it at all. So all this, the ejectors, after 25,000 shells, they still look fairly new. Okay, we've cleaned it. I'm not going to say we haven't cleaned it on a regular basis, but it doesn't look as though it shot that amount of shells. No rust on the barrels. barrels are fairly clean all the way up. So for a gun that's shot a lot, again, forend, not really any problems. Got a couple of marks on there from what people's used. People's bashed it on things. But other than that, generally, it's really, really clean. So it just goes to show that the gun manufacturers that actually try and test their guns, and they get the problems on things like this. So we've solved the problems on this gun, so the customer, when they buy a gun off the shelf, they don't have a problem with it. And we've now sold quite a few, around the country, they've sold quite a few of the guns. So they've got Sporting Guns. The Sporting Gun did a gun test on this, and they got customers from Joe Public to come and shoot it to see what it's like. So the feedback we've had from the customers is fantastic on this gun. It's absolutely great. And it won Gun of the Year last year. So to me, my number one guns, this and the XS Browning, very, very good value for money. Very good value. The XS Browning and this, probably the two best sporters in the country. And the retail value, just under 3,900 quid. So under 4,000 quid for a gun that's pretty much got everything a bolt-on goodie you can think of. Can't go wrong. Let's see if it shoots still the same. Pull. Pull. So, again, doesn't really matter what you shoot, whether you shoot something really close. And that was a 50-yard pair of targets we've got on the Browning course, and it mullered them. So it really, really works. They've got the stock dimensions, they've got the whole thing just right. Okay, it's a Fausti. They've got to get that name out a bit more. But I have to say, I am a Browning man through and through. I have to say, this comes up with the Browning. It's one of the best Italian guns I've ever shot in my life. It really works well. But the reason why they've got that is because they've listened to what the customer wants. They've got a nice, delicate Italian gun with a few extra features. One more pair, and then we'll call it a day. Pull. Pull. Fine, I'll shoot it anyway round. Pull. Press them both together. Pull. Pull. So, all I would say is if you are thinking of buying a new gun, make sure you've got Browning and Fausti on top of your wish list, because they are brilliant guns. Best two gun manufacturers on the market, I think, at the moment. Because they give the customer what the customer wants. Fausti XF4, year on, fabulous gun.